And we are live. What's up, beasties? It's me, it's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast. Welcome back to Beast Friends Forever. And I have an awesome guest tonight. I hope everybody had a great day and you're ready to rock and roll, to have some fun, because I have on a very awesome author. He has long flowing locks of Thor-like hair. He has a very sweet beard, just like me, even better though. He writes amazing cyberpunk fiction. I don't know why I said fiction, because there's no other kind of cyberpunk, but anyway, it's very cool. He is one of the nicest people I've met since I've started BookTube. I love chatting with him. I'm so excited for him. He's got an awesome short story collection already out that we're going to talk about, and he has a book that just came out that's fantastic. And I'm talking about my good friend, Adam Bassett. What's up, dude?
My own mile-long intro. Thank you so much.
I know, right? Oh, man. Look at those flowing locks. Like I said, it's impressive. Yeah, that's right. You need like a fan that just blows it during it.
You got to play to the crowd a little bit.
That's right. All right, let's shout out a couple people that are in here, and then we'll have some more trickling in. But we've got Mark from Avid Book Junkie. What's up, man? Thanks for being here. And another author, Alex Shorman. What is up? Howdy. Thanks for being here, dude. And then I'll shout some more people out as they come in. So I'm excited for this, dude. I've been looking forward to it. We actually planned this quite a while ago.
Yeah, I remember you reached out to me right after Digital Extremities came out. Mm-hmm. And it was like just as I was winding down my like attention on that book, and I was beginning to focus on like what was coming in next. Yep. And I knew Animus Pardox was right around the corner, so I was just like, let's do something close to that. So yeah, no, this has been like months in the work, which is weird to say, but very, very fun. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this.
Heck yeah, me too, man. Keys just dropped in here. I'm always going to say that right now, my friend. Thank you for correcting me, so that I know the proper way to say your awesome name. Thanks for being here. So we have Digital Extremities, this beautiful short story collection that I'm working my way through and loving. And then, because I did order a copy when yes, there it is. That's way better than me trying to show it on my phone.
Yeah.
Look at that cover. That cover is sweet.
Thank you.
What's the back look like? Let me see. I got to know.
Pretty similar to the collection.
Ooh, yes,
they are part of a series, more or less.
I love that.
Yeah,
they're the same
little color code thing,
right?
Yeah, it's funny because it is part of a series, and I want it to look like that.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of like each book has a vibe to it. But they are like very like, as you know, you're reading through the collection and the book right now, like they are very much different books. Yeah. Like they are different genres. They are the only thing connecting them are some characters and parts of the world.
Yeah. But that's kind of cool. I love when that happens, when an author creates a world and then you just get to experience different parts of it that aren't connected. They don't need to be. I think that's cool. Their connection is just that they both exist in the same place.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like a scary approach, because the people who enjoy the first thing are not necessarily going to like the second thing, and vice versa. But at the same time, there is, more for different people. So
yeah.
Hopefully, even if you.
I would say that what I love about them that I feel like is still a connection is that your Digital Extremities, the short story collection, focuses on kind of not ordinary, but regular people, real life situations, and people going through stuff we all go through, but in a cyberpunk world or on the outskirts of a cyberpunk.
Yeah, that one has a lot of themes of like, how am I going to make rent, and how am I going to help my dad with this problem?
Yes, which I love.
Things that are, I think, stuff we're going through right now, but just a little bit heightened in certain ways.
Right. Yep. But I would say that even though Animus Paradox isn't like that. A lot more action focused, but your main characters still have like that the relationship and still have those moments of like everyday living mixed into this crazy story that you have going on. So like I still think if people love Digital Extremities, they're still gonna love that because of that part. I think it still works. It still meshes well.
Yeah, like the events in the events in Animus Paradox are very like high action, high there's a bit of mystery going on, and the main characters are kind of caught between multiple very powerful forces,
Right.
and sort of just doing a job in that space. And they frequently will look at each other and just be like, how did this happen? Like, how did we get here? This doesn't make sense. Like they just kind of want to live their own lives. And frequently the main character David will just like be like, man, can't I just go look for somebody's lost cat? That would be great.
I agree. Yeah, that's exactly spot on. All right, we got some more people hopping in. We got Library on Legs, our good friend Senna. Hello. Thanks for being here. Derek is here. What's up, Derek? Thanks for being here. And Dylan, what's up? Thanks for being here, man. That's right. He usually pops in right at the end, like right before I say, all right, we're going to wrap it up. He's like, oh, I just got here. He's
honestly,
right here
that's me a lot of the time too. Or like catch it right after you end it. And it's like, all right.
That's all right, man. I appreciate the effort. That's what matters. And then JCM Byrne, Joe is here. Howdy. Let's hear all the dirt on Jackson Dicker. Oh man, I don't have any.
No, he's saying that to me. Jackson is a coworker of mine.
Oh, I didn't know he was a coworker of yours.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We both work on Campfire.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you just knew him somehow. That would be how. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no,
we're gonna have
a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make Joe happy and give some dirt then.
I'm not sure what I could give. He's kind of a hard on his sleeve type of guy.
Yeah, that is true. He's a pretty funny guy. All right, so let's get this show on the road. So before we dive into everything about the book and your journey, which I love to hear about, I usually like to start this off by asking you what your answer would be to my question of the day from today. And I actually made it focused on cyberpunk because I knew we were chatting today. So my question, and throw it in the chat, live chat, beasties, also what you would pick. But I asked if you were in a cyberpunk world and you could have just one enhancement, one thing enhanced through an implant, modification, whatever, what would it be? And these are the choices. Would it be your senses? So, night vision, improving your eyesight, hearing, smell, taste, whatever. Would it be that? Would it be having like super strength or subcutaneous armor for like protection, something like that? Or would it be I can't say that out loud.
Neural.
Something with that, or just something else that I didn't mention. What would your answer be?
Probably something more physical, like those like the armor or something that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Just purely because the idea of a neural augment or something messing with my senses sounds terrifying. As cool as those could be, they also have the biggest potential to screw me over.
Right.
That's probably something along those lines.
I think I would go the same route. I agree. I think I would go the same route. Dylan says the same. Super strength and armor. Kool-Aid manning it through all the walls. That's right. Boom. And then Senna had said a bump in Darwinian evolution. So I don't know. Probably, yeah. All right. So good answer. And then we have another author that popped in here, Mr. Timothy Wolf. What's up, my friend? Glorious to have you here. All right. So first off, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but just in your own words, I just want you to pitch both of your books to us. Just let us know what they're about, and we'll start there.
Sure. So the first book that I released in September last year, Digital Extremities, is a short story collection full of people who are just kind of living their lives for the most part. Like I said, they are kind of dealing with issues of rent and family, and there's a couple of other things in there here and there too. But it's about, you know, kind of more slice of life mundane situations that are happening in a cyberpunk setting, but within rural and remote places in that setting. So not Chiba City, Night City, whatever you are familiar with. You know, it's happening in places like Vermont and rural Quebec and the southern tip of Argentina and places like that. So that's 8 different stories, 8 different perspectives. There's a consistency in the world, but those stories are kind of self-contained. And then we get to the new book, which is Animus Pardox. And this is not a short story collection. It is a short, quite short, so easy to work in that TBR. It's a short novel, about 45,000 words. And it is basically all about the people from the final story in Digital Extremities, who, you know, we kind of hear a little bit about a job that one of them was on, and that helps out a different job, and we sort of forget about it there. And then Animus Pardox is sort of the answer to how does that other job turn out? And it's a story about these 2 private investigators who are married, who are kind of roped into this job where they're looking for a thief who stole from the wrong syndicate leader. And that turns into something much bigger, much more out of control than they really realized. And, you know, it kind of just spirals from there a little bit. There's a lot of action. There's sword fights, car chases, a slight amount of dismemberment. It's like, it's a totally different vibe. But if you are the type of person who can span slice of life and violent action movie, then this is perfect for you.
That is a good pitch, man. Who doesn't love that? I mean, those 2 things are great. Put them together. Ooh.
And they are all standalones. So if you just like one or the other, you can do that, and you really won't be like, there might be some references between the 2 of them. You might pick up on stuff a little bit faster, but I have had the book just came out, so it's mostly just ARC readers at this point. But I made a point to bring in some people who had previously read the short story collection, and I invited people who hadn't as well. And more or less across the board, like, there were some people who were concerned that they might be missing something, but they don't seem to have felt that in the end. So that was really nice to see too.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. I was kind of reading them at the same time, and I actually didn't realize that the last story had that connection. So I'm super excited to get to that one now.
Yeah. You could sort of think of it as like a prologue to the book.
That's cool.
But it is like such a totally different story. Like in Digital Extremities, like the mystery they're trying to solve is like, where is this kid who's gone missing? And it's, you know, there's not a lot of like, it's not the same kind of violence or threat as Animus Pardox has, where it's like we're dealing with like these cyberpunk gangs who have their like a foothold in all of the systems and government and police and everything, and it's like they have this rivalry with a different group, and it very quickly becomes very dangerous.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh man. All right. Mr. Roro just popped in. Got to say hello to Mr. Roro. Thanks for being here. And Keys, I agree. Cyberpunk sword fights, boom, sold. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nice work, my friend. All right, so you've got two awesome books that we could talk about. Before I go into your journey, I do have to ask about the covers because they are fantastic.
Oh,
They're
thank you.
lovely, beautiful covers. Tell me a little bit about that process. How did you come up with the idea for the covers? How did you find someone to do it? All that stuff.
So I wanted each cover to represent what the genre is, and I spent some time researching, what do slice of life stories look like? What do thrillers look like in mysteries? And so, for Digital Extremities, we really like leaned into this sort of bright color palette. It's not showing up very well on my screen, I don't think, but
Yeah.
actually you can see it better on. Yeah. Yeah, the lighting here is not good. But yeah, so like we really leaned into the covers to try and have these like really warm tones and have like this like, futuristic like red and blue contrast, but almost make it feel hopeful in some ways, even if the stories themselves are not always. And having like I don't know, just like having the tone match the sort of introspective, wistful sort of feel of the stories themselves. The title on the side was actually an accident.
Really?
I was working with an illustrator, Ixel, on this one, and she left space on the top for the title, but the way that like the dark contrast on one side and the light contrast on the other
Yeah.
side ended up working. It was
Oh,
really hard to get the title to be legible and look
okay.
good.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to cover up like that really pretty sky,
Oh, yeah.
like
That's so cool.
especially seeing it in person. Like I really just love the
Oh, me
color
too.
work that Ixel did.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up doing the titling on the side, and I did all the text myself.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I have a background a little bit as like a graphic designer. I do
Oh,
UX UI
man.
design as a job today, so
Okay.
that was not a huge leap for me. Um,
Well, you rocked it, dude. It looks awesome.
Thank you. But yeah, so that took a while to figure out, but once I did, it's like that's the only place that
Oh, yeah.
the title can really go to
I
make
can't
sense.
imagine anywhere else. I
And
agree.
then, of course, it comes around to the next book, and I'm like, well, I've got to make it look really
Yeah.
similar at a glance, and the only
Mhm.
way to do that is
Let's put
to
it on the
have the
side.
same format.
Yep.
And so, yeah, very few changes to the format of the cover
Yep.
for this one. But one thing that I was really interested in was having this sort of silhouette here on the side of David's face.
Mhm.
That was something that I saw a lot in like the other thriller and mystery covers was they would use shadows and silhouettes a lot to do
Oh,
really
yeah.
interesting
Yep.
designs. And David in that story is working with a group called the Tigres, and their logo is a tiger with bullets for
Oh my
fangs.
gosh, I just noticed that.
Yeah. That was
How did I
actually
never notice that before?
that was my cover artist's idea. I was explaining some stuff to him and he was
Oh
just
my,
like, "Oh yeah, obviously this is what I do." And I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense."
dude, that's amazing.
um yeah, so this one was illustrated by my friend Ahmed, and I cannot pronounce his last name. He goes by at Red Pharaoh Art on
Okay.
Twitter and Blue Sky, so you can find him there. He's
I
in the
will.
book.
That's
But
awesome,
yeah.
man. Dude, I'm so glad that we talked and you told me that because now I will see it so much better when I get mine in hand because that looks sweet.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Awesome. Oh, that's killer, dude. All right, so covers are fantastic. Thanks for letting us know how you did that. So do you think? All right, I'll get to that later. I want to hear about your journey. So take me back to when you were a young lad, probably with still the flowing locks of hair, even at a young age. Tell
This
me,
is new.
Is it
Like,
really?
yeah, no, I just have always had a begrudging relationship with a haircut. But I would always get them,
Yeah.
especially like a few years ago I was working in sales,
Mhm.
and if I waited too long, my boss would get kind of, "Hey, you don't look presentable." um
Nice.
in more presentable words than that,
Yeah,
but you get
right,
the
right.
idea. But yeah, after I started working remote, and I had left that job, I just kind of just let it go, and eventually
Mhm.
it was at a point where it's like, it's so long, I'm just going to
Embrace
wait
it.
to get it cut until I can donate it. And so that's what I do. Like
Oh,
every
nice.
2 years I get it cut real short,
Oh, wow,
donate
okay.
that, and then we're hitting that point very soon. After I think this winter I'll do
Oh,
that.
man. So the next time I have you on, you might have short hair.
Yeah, it varies wildly.
That's cool. How long have you been doing that for? That every 2 year thing?
Yeah, it's not very
Couple
much.
times.
This will just be the second time that I do it, because it
That's really
takes like
cool,
2
dude.
years to grow back out to
Yeah,
the
oh,
length
yeah.
that I would cut it again.
That's really
But
awesome that you do that. That's awesome.
yeah, it's
Um,
like I don't feel any personal connection to it. Like as
mhm.
long as it looks decent, I don't
Yeah,
really care.
right.
So why not like do some good with it?
Yeah, very cool, man. All right, before we get into your journey, gotta shout out my friend Ted Red Instead. What's up, Ted? Thanks for being here.
Hello.
Appreciate you. All right, so take me back to when you were a young lad. I want to know a little bit about two things. One, what books got you into reading? Were you a
Mhm.
reader as a young person? And then also, when did your love of writing come about? And then eventually, when did you think, like, I actually want to write a book for real and get it out there? Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Um, so I got into reading probably, I don't remember how old I was, but pretty young. I remember, like, if we go far enough back, my parents would tell you about how, like, I was an advanced reader and they kicked me out and put me in kindergarten early because of it or something. Like my family's full of teachers and
Yeah.
educators of different kinds. So
Mhm.
like that was just the thing that we did a lot. Um but the first book that I really remember enjoying was actually the Warrior Cat series, the original one
Oh,
by Aaron
Warrior Cat.
Hunter.
Nice.
um, I don't know. I'm allergic to cats, so maybe I was like living vicariously through that.
Right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
also, I just loved like the different clans, and that book had a map in it, which anyone who knows me will tell you that's an instant way to sell me.
Right.
Um, so that I would say is what kindled my love for reading and also writing. I got into it around that time and basically was writing like what I didn't know. I didn't have the word for this at the time,
Mhm.
but it was essentially fanfic of the Warrior Cat series, just with my own characters and forests and whatever.
Nice.
And so that was a thing for a while. And then I put it down for a while, and I picked reading and writing both back up around the same time again, uh, when I got stuck in an airport and uh, picked up a random book off the shelf just to kill time.
Okay.
It was a thriller, like military
Oh,
book. So big hard shift here. I was probably like in high school at the time or
yeah.
something.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was Devil's Keep by Philip Finch.
Okay.
And that book had just enough mystery and action, and it was fairly easy to read. And I fell in love with it all over again. And that eventually brought me back into like I didn't grow up with fantasy and sci-fi like the way I think a lot of people who
Mhm.
have been on the channel did.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the classics I'm still catching up on.
Mhm.
Um, so I kind of made my own way back to fantasy and sci-fi because that's the kind of thing that I liked, but I didn't
Mhm.
quite have the way to know where to look.
Right.
And that really got kicked into high gear, of course, when Game of Thrones got really popular.
Yep.
And my old college roommate introduced me to that, and I fell in love with it. And that's probably when I was like, I want to be an author. Like, I've always enjoyed writing. That is probably around the time when it was like, I love the like engineering the politics of these stories. I love the characters in them. You know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it came in like multiple phases. There was never like a moment when everything changed, but it was like a lot of stepping stones that sort of led me in this direction.
Very cool. I like it. Well, Keys agrees with you on Warrior Cats. He said he loves them.
I fell off of it hard after the first series, but I really loved that first series when I was a kid.
Do you have them? Like physical copies of them?
I don't know if I do.
Man, you should.
I might have to look later. They would not be on this floor if they are here.
This floor? You got like multiple floors of books?
Yeah. I have a few things in storage upstairs. I don't know.
Okay. Very nice. All right, we got somebody else in here. Oh, this is Bad Mike Guy. I agree. One of the best things about thrillers is no matter where you are, you can probably look around and find one. Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Very true. Those are universally sold at any place. Very true. Oh, Keys like that first series the best too. He was obsessed. Very nice. Yep. All right. So I want to know a little bit about your writing process. So first question is, everybody is either on one end of this spectrum or the other, or in the middle, I feel like.
Okay.
So are you a plotter or a pantser, or do you mix the two when you write your book?
Definitely a mix.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of examples. So have you gotten to the story in the short story collection, 36 Broadway Avenue?
No.
Okay. So that is the one that people tend to point to.
Okay.
Everybody kind of seems to have their own favorites. But that one seems to hit people more frequently than others.
Okay.
The only note that I had going into it was, this is the action story. Nice. Which is weird because it's not even that much action. But I wanted it to take things up a little bit of a notch because a lot of the stories in that collection are more subdued. Yep. So, you know, that was really my only note on it. And I just sort of like, you know, stumbled through things until I sort of found the direction I wanted to go in. And for a long time, even once I found that, it was like I had figured out the ending, but not quite how I would get there. And I would just sort of like take some time and write something and see if it worked. And most of the time it didn't work. And I would try again and try again. Sometimes I would try to plan and that wouldn't work either. So it was a very much like trial and error, kind of like Tim's saying in the chat. I was pantsing very, very hard. Perhaps the most I ever have. And it was not until I was like on a walk with my parents' dog. I was visiting them over the holidays a few years ago. And all of a sudden it just like clicked. And I was like, as soon as I got back from that walk with the dog, I went to my computer and just wrote like for as much time as I could manage, because it just sort of all clicked into place.
Okay.
It did not surprisingly take that long to get there, because I was like, I kept trying and trying and trying over those couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, that process was very much bang your head against the wall until something happens. And then, you know, edit it furiously to make sure that it all still makes sense. Animus Pardox, on the other hand, was the complete opposite of that.
Okay.
I went in with established characters, with an established conflict, and an established goal. Basically, the same people from the final story. Where is the thief? And the final thing they do is catch the thief, like obviously. So I was able to plan that one out much more specifically, down to like most of the scenes that appear in the book were scenes that I planned in the original draft when I was just like typing some ideas down. The only thing that really strongly changed between then and now was along the way I would realize like, oh, we have action scene to action scene to action scene. I need to slow down here and have the characters reflect and think about what's going on and try to plan ahead. And even if that plan doesn't work, we need to see them trying to solve this problem and take a moment for themselves to just like have lunch or reflect on like, man,
Right.
this is pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, where you're coming from, where you mentioned earlier, like there are notes of that slice of life in Animus Pardox, because even though it is a thriller, I really did want to take time to slow down every now and then and be like, not every second of this is going to be, you know, gunfire and sword fights and all that kind of stuff. There are going to be moments where we just need to stop and slow down and get more familiar with the characters, have a bite to eat, see the world a little bit, stuff like that. So those were scenes that I added in later, and just to like help out with the pacing and stuff. So my original plan was for it to be a long novella. It ended up being a very short novel.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Shout out William Burkhart. Thanks for being here, my friend. We appreciate you.
Hello.
Mentioning that, I think that was brilliant, because it, like, there are moments where it slowed down and they just were together and you got to get to know them better. Like those moments were so cozy and sweet, and it just made you connect with them more, and also like them even more, even though they were both already likable characters. So I feel like that made, when you go back to it being crazy, it made it be like even more, because you're like, no, I know them more intimately now. I think nothing can happen to them. So I think that was just well done. Well done, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's almost like it reminds me of The Walking Dead. I never got into the graphic novels, but when I was watching the TV show, I remember me and some friends would always sit down and watch it, and whenever there was like a heartening scene with any character, we were just like, oh, that person is dead. Next episode, end of this episode, I don't know when, but next time there's a fight, they're gonna die.
Oh, yeah. Anytime someone became the moral compass of the group in that show, you knew they're done. They're done. They're done. They're making too much sense. They're changing lives. They're done.
Yep. That's the tell.
That's true. All right. So you mix it up with both. That's good. What about your writing? Do you write the same time every day? Do you just make sure you write at some point every day? How do you find time for writing? Are you super strict with it, or do you just let the day flow and you write when you can?
Definitely more just let it flow. I have the fortune of working from home and having a flexible schedule. My coworkers range between Central time zone sometimes to Central Eastern European. So there's a big range there already, and I am not expected to have like necessarily regular hours. So, I mean, obviously I have to be there for meetings or like be generally present in case somebody needs me for anything. But there are other days where it's like, I'm going to work late today, and this morning I'm going to go to the coffee shop and get some writing done or editing or whatever the case is. That, again, for 36 Broadway Avenue, that short story in the center of Digital Extremities, that was one where it was like, once it was in my head and I was working on it, I could not stop on it. And I would put everything aside. And there were days where I would end up working super late because I would get up that morning and I would be so jazzed about working on this story, I could not focus on anything else. Like I would be a detriment to anything else until I at least put a few hours into it. So that's what I did. Other days I can't think of anything in the morning, and I'm up until 1 a.m. working on some writing. So it's whatever the mood strikes, I guess.
Hey, that's good. I feel like that's how I am. You have to just it's gotta work when it works. Because if you're too strict with it, then
That
you
said, I do have broadly a rule, like when I'm drafting something, I broadly have a rule of like get down 5,000 words per week. And it
okay.
doesn't matter when that happens, but by the end of the week, you need to have, whatever that goal is. Usually it's the 5,000. And I find that's very helpful because it's like it gives me an achievable goal that is very flexible. And if by the end of the week I haven't gotten there, I know I need to put some hours in over the weekend. And if I have, then great. I can either exceed it or let my friends know I'm free to play video games. Or like go
Good.
like spend some extra time in the kitchen baking something. I don't know. Like
Nice.
I have it gives me some structure to play
Yeah.
with without being like, every day at
Right.
7 a.m. before I start work, I have to put down this many
Right.
hours. Like I don't care about hours. It's the word count
The
is what
words. Yeah.
matters.
I like that. I like doing a weekly goal, and then that
Yeah.
gives you flexibility throughout the week. Now, have you ever had a week where it was crazy and you didn't have time to write, and all of a sudden it's Friday and you have like barely anything, and you're like, "Oh
Yeah,
gosh."
and if I don't meet the 5K, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't. It's whatever.
You forgive yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that.
Good.
That was
Good.
a battle that I had to figure out on my own,
Mhm.
and it took a lot of time. Like I've been writing on and off for probably at this point like a good 12-ish. No, I mean, it depends on when you want to consider the starting point. Is it the
Mhm.
warrior fan fiction, or is it like when I'm trying to write original work?
Right.
But like 12 to honestly probably like 18 years I've been
Wow.
writing on and off. I started at a young age in my
Mhm.
like I don't know, tweens or something.
Mhm.
Um, so it took a long time to learn that it's okay if I don't meet a goal,
Mhm.
and also how to set goals so that they feel surmountable. Like 5K is for me an achievable thing to do. Um, Sometimes it's not going to be, and that's okay. And for other
Mhm.
people, that achievable goal is going to be 3K or it's going to be
Right.
1K or
Mhm.
whatever it is. The main point of it is like be somewhat consistent in
Mhm.
some way, even if it's a small number, or great if
Right.
you can write a ton. Like a friend of mine was talking about how they wrote like a 80,000 word manuscript in I think 2 weeks, which is mind blowing.
Insane.
Um, I guess they just like turn off all of the writing assistant, like the little squiggles that appear if you misspell something, and like all of those
Yeah.
things that could
Just
possibly
go.
stress them. And they just do it.
They tape how you were typing earlier. They just
Yes.
That's crazy. I'm with Alex here. 5K a week is huge. That's pretty impressive. If you can hit that goal pretty consistently, if that's what you shoot for, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that was the goal for Animus Paradox,
Mhm.
especially like once I had a plan for it, that 5K became a lot easier. It can become a lot more difficult, like with the short story collection, where I know sometimes what the vibe is going to be. I know
Mhm.
sometimes what the climax is going to be, but like it's very figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's goal was probably closer to like 3,000 or 2,000 or something like that because I did so much like deleting and retrying during that process.
Oh yeah, I bet for sure. Um, so when you wrote these books, do you feel like your process was the same with drafting and editing and all that? Do you have like a process for that, or did you find it different for each because they were kind of different things with the short stories versus one whole book?
I mean, with a longer story, there's always more to consider, more
Mhm.
opportunities to uh, mess something up or
Right.
overlook something.
Mhm.
Um, as far as that goes, I don't think the process changed a ton. I found that I really enjoyed working on Digital Extremities in the way that like, so I wrote everything and then I would send it to a developmental editor, and he would give me feedback, and we would kind of workshop it a little bit as needed. And then as those got polished up, I found a different editor to work with to do copy edits.
Okay.
And I worked with them on it at that point, and just being able to have multiple points of view, I really
That's
enjoyed.
awesome. Yeah.
And being that these books are, fairly short, one is 260 pages or 240 pages, maybe. The other one is about 220, 240. So like these are not massive manuscripts. I'm fortunate that I can pay people, for their editing and reviewing services, and it's not a massive, pain in the wallet. It's obviously like these things are expensive,
Yeah.
but I have some advantage in the size of the manuscripts and everything.
Yes.
But yeah, so because of that, I'm able to bring in multiple people a lot of the time, and just different people catch different things. They're concerned about different things.
Yep.
And I did that with both of the books, and I brought in different people for them because there were like the same developmental editor looked at both of them, but one of the editors that I had for Digital Extremities really is a little bit more interested in contemporary stories and romance and stuff like that. And I really wanted her perspective on Digital Extremities because it is like, even though it is sci-fi, it is cyberpunk, so much of it hinges on the relationships in that story.
Right.
And the complexities of that, and not necessarily like there's not a ton of like romantic stuff going on, but still having that background I think helps, when you're looking at the friendships in the story and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to Animus Paradox, I'm like, I don't necessarily need that perspective quite as much, and I found a different editor to work with, and just someone who I hadn't worked with yet before. It was Bard and Butter. They've got a kind of fledgling
I've heard of them. Yep.
thing coming up now. Yeah. And they were offering like a discount for their first couple of customers or something.
Nice.
I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll take you up on it. And maybe it'll be great. I had spoken with one of the two before, but it was my first time working with Rachel, and she ended up being fantastic, was very responsive. And definitely am keen to work with her again on something. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I like trying different people out and like finding the right people for the job. Same thing for like the cover art. Like Ixel was the right person for Digital Extremities.
Yes.
When it came to Animus Paradox, Ahmed had already illustrated like some extra character art for the bonus content on Campfire that I made for Digital Extremities, and he had already illustrated David in that. And so I was like, hey, you already know who this character is.
Yep.
Like, we need to change the style a little bit just to make it match the first book a little bit more closely. But I was very interested in working with him on that because he was already like, he made the character, like the visual representation of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very fluid.
Yeah. Hey, I think that it's working. Whatever you're doing, it's working. So keep doing it. That's awesome. So when you do your drafts, are you somebody that just like we joked about your friend that did the 80,000 word thing? Do you just write and then go back and edit? Or are you someone who like writes and then looks back at what you just wrote, fixes it up, writes, goes back and fixes it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a broken record. I'm sorry, but yeah, it all depends.
Okay. No, that's awesome.
There was not a lot of that on Animus Paradox. Okay. I think because I had that plan already figured out, and I knew what was coming, so I could foreshadow it and all that kind of stuff. Not to say there was none of that. Like definitely, as small scenes got changed, or I like better understood, like after writing the antagonist a little bit more and understanding them a little bit better, I did go back and like seeds some information about them and all that kind of stuff, some more foreshadowing and stuff. But there was much less of it in that story, whereas like some of the ones which were more pantsed in the short story collection in Digital Extremities, definitely a lot of like, I'm finding the story, and as I do, I have to go back and like, oh, this thing that happens later, I can foreshadow in this earlier scene if I do this small change or rewrite this line of dialogue just a little bit. I can make the gut punch hurt a little more if I have somebody promise to do something later.
I like that.
Oh, yeah, no, I've made some people cry apparently.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's when you're a writer, you're supposed to make us readers feel, right? So even if it's
No, I mean,
feel tears,
I'm thrilled about it. Like the fact that anybody would care enough about my silly little stories to
right.
feel
That's
that
actually
much
pretty
emotion
cool.
over it, like
Yes. I agree.
genuinely, thank you.
Thank you for sobbing. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah, no, I gotcha. I gotcha. So Bad Mike Guy is Zachary Forbes, who's written some cool zombie books. He said Bard and Butter are good people,
Yep.
and that Chris has reviewed all his zombie books. So
Yeah, I haven't worked with Chris that way yet. He's helped me like reveal some covers and stuff,
okay.
but I've only worked with Rachel for the copy editing at this point. But maybe at some point I'll work with Chris too.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so Keys has a good question, but before I ask it, I have one more question about your process that I don't want to forget, because everybody always likes to know if writers do this or not when they write. Do you listen to music when you write or something else, or is it silence when you write?
My
And don't say it depends.
no, it does not depend. It absolutely does not. This is the one thing I feel very strongly about.
Okay.
My Spotify listening time in 2024, if I remember correctly, was about 179,000 minutes,
Holy Toledo.
which my coworkers have done the math. Actually, you want some stories about Jackson? He's done the math personally,
You would.
and that is approximately 1/3 of the year.
Oh my gosh.
So I listen to a lot of music. I'm listening to music right now. I'm listening to Odessa. If you're curious, it's very good, very chill. I am constantly listening to something.
Okay.
It's there's not like a specific writing playlist or anything.
Yeah.
There are some that I lean toward, but it's just sort of like whatever works for me that day, whatever I can put on in the background. And sometimes that's like typical background music where there's few or no lyrics. Other times it's like hard rock of some kind. I'm thinking of somebody in particular. I can't remember their name. Who was it? I'm sorry. Unleash the Archers. It was going to bother me if I couldn't find it. Unleash the Archers is a group that I really like for some reason. For some reason, they are just like this perfect cacophony of sound where all of it blends together in this really beautiful way. And I can just like put it on in the background a lot of days. Not all the time, but yeah, Odessa is more of a vibe.
Oh yeah, Derek, he vibes with Odessa. There we go.
Yep.
All right, very cool. That's actually a really cool answer, because a lot of I've gotten the most of is like they do like to listen to music, but it can't have words because it makes them messes them up.
I totally understand that.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
I don't care. It's whatever.
I love it, man.
It's whatever is going on that day.
Yes,
and sometimes it is that typical background music, and other times, Dylan gets me. Unleash the Archers. Is
right.
wonderful.
There we go. That's awesome. All right. So Keys wanted to know. He said he's guessing sci-fi is your favorite genre. What are some books that inspired your stories, and which authors inspired you as well?
So I feel like I'm actually pretty new to sci-fi, if I'm being honest. I was sort of caught up in it a little bit, or in, I don't know, 2020. 2019, 2020, something like that, which is when I was reading like Neuromancer, and
Oh, nice.
around that same time, I forget exactly when, or maybe shortly after, Cyberpunk 2077 came out, which
That's
was
what I
like, of
wondered.
course, mass media, everybody all of a
Yes.
sudden was aware of Cyberpunk again. And all of that was very fun and very cool. But that's sort of when I started thinking like, man, I've never seen Cyberpunk in a place like where I grew up. And that's what led me into all of this
Nice.
stuff, which is,
Okay.
what does it look like in rural, remote places? Um, After I decided to start working on that, I did start reading more sci-fi. My TBR right now, I think, is mostly sci-fi
Okay.
at this point. Like, at least
Cool.
the recent books that I've gotten,
Mhm.
I'm currently reading 2 sci-fi books. Like, I've pivoted hard, but it is a more recent pivot. The other part of your question, the stuff that inspired these books, I would probably lend more to like, so those couple of cyberpunk works were very informative for me.
Mhm.
Tia Napper's work is extremely inspiring to me as well. 36 Streets and Neon Leviathan in particular, which is his short story collection of cyberpunk stories.
Mhm.
That for me was like permission to create digital extremities. It was like, oh, this is possible. Like, you can pull this off and do it well and have people who enjoy it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why, for some reason, I was like convinced maybe because this is mostly what I was experienced with, but short story collections, in my experience, are usually contemporary. Maybe fantasy, but I hadn't seen a whole lot of cyberpunk stuff before. So that book really kind of opened a door for me. But aside from that, like, the original short story collection was so grounded. A lot of
Mhm.
the inspiration for those stories came from contemporary short fiction. I really looked up to um, Edwidge Danticat.
Okay.
Um, she writes contemporary fiction, very heavily based around like um, Haitian characters and their experience in Haiti or coming to the United States or some variation therein. And those stories are very often about family and loss and discrimination and like trying to make it. Um, I really, really have enjoyed some of her work. And I read a bunch of, similar stories back in college. I took a bunch of courses on, um, you know, more contemporary fiction, and even like a linked short story class where we would read
Oh,
collections of
wow.
short stories that all kind of like had this connection. Sometimes it was the place, sometimes it was characters. There was
That's
one I
very
really enjoyed, A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan,
cool.
which was formatted as if it had like an A side and B side, kind of like an old record. And there were a lot of themes of music and the music industry
Mhm.
within it. And all the characters were kind of connected to one another in different ways. But, they were very much on their own journeys. Some of them were musicians, some of them
Mhm.
were producers. We see at different points in this one woman's life, the very first story is like her going on a date and kind of being a kleptomaniac a little bit, and it's like this kind of like an awkward story,
Mhm.
if I remember it correctly. And then we see her again, like as she is a little bit older. She's like working with somebody on a project, and then again later on through the eyes of her daughter. And it just like we kind of see her growth through different people, which is really interesting. And um yeah, those stories I would credit. So like, the recent interest in cyberpunk in the last couple of years was the theming inspiration, and then the actual stories themselves, I would say, are more inspired by contemporary fiction.
Okay. Very cool, man. That sounds awesome. I wish I would have done a class like that. That sounds pretty fun,
I
actually.
can give you some recs if you want. I mean, the ones that I just mentioned.
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but,
I'm writing those down. Those sound good.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And I don't think I mentioned a specific book. The ones from Edward Jantika that I really loved.
Oh, yeah.
The Dew Breaker is much more of like a continuous
Okay.
story. We see it kind of traveling back in time a little bit, which is very fun. And then the other one is Everything Inside, which is a little more scattered, but also just some really hard-hitting stories in that one.
Okay. I'll have to check them out. Those sound good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 2 questions from Cinna. So first, she's the resident like audiobook queen. She loves audiobooks. So she always likes to know. She says broken record because she asks it in every one. Do you have any plans? I know audiobooks are very expensive to make, but do you have any plans for audiobook for your stuff?
I am not ready to discuss whether or not there may be a plan or anything in the works. If there was a plan or anything in the works, it would be extremely early on. And you don't want to risk anything by saying anything about it.
I get it.
So we'll see. If it works out, it works out.
Yeah.
Currently there is no audiobook. Like you said, they're very expensive and require a lot of coordination to put together, but
yes,
I won't say no.
I like that answer. Well done. And Keys, I loved your answer to his question. So well done. The other question from Senna, do you read comic books or graphic novels?
I have not been lately. No.
She asked if you read Elephant.
No, I'm not familiar with Elephant Man.
Yeah, I know what it is. I have not read it either, but it's supposed to be really good. So
okay,
one that I do want to check out eventually. All right, so I have some more questions to get to know you as a non-writer. But before we do that, before I switch gears, I like to do a little game. So I have this box of 1-minute mysteries.
Okay.
I'm gonna read out the case and the clues, and then you in the chat can try to work together to figure out what you think to solve the case. Are you ready, Adam?
Watch us be stuck for like an hour and you're stuck in the call.
You might get this one. I usually just pick them right off the top. So this one you might get. Okay, you ready? So I'll read it out loud, and then after I read it, I'll put it up to the screen so you can look at it if you need to again. All right. So here's the case. The case is, in addition to pictures of his wife and children, Peter Cannon carries pictures of a number of dead people with him at all times. Peter admires the people, but they're not members of his family. Even though some of the pictures are very valuable, he often gives them away. So the mystery is, why does Peter carry the pictures and why does he give them away? So here's the clues. The people in the pictures are famous. He gives some of them away every day. The fewer pictures that Peter gives away, the better he feels. The pictures are sized to fit in a wallet and are not taken with a camera. Peter trades the pictures for things he wants, and he once had a picture of Grover Cleveland. It was his favorite. All right. Let me find the camera. Chat, if anybody thinks they know, you can throw it in there.
It's money.
Ooh, you and Keys. Peter carries pictures because they are printed on money. Did you Google that?
I suspected it was money, but I had never heard of a Groveland Cleveland dollar bill. So I looked up if Grover Cleveland had ever been on a dollar bill, and I saw yes.
Okay, I did not know that either. That's the one that threw me off. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
At the start,
yeah,
I was thinking some convoluted answer of like, clearly this person is giving away business cards for an art gallery, and all of the cards have like little pictures of famous paintings like the Mona Lisa on it. But then you were like, he doesn't like giving the pictures away, right. And I was like, damn it.
Not that. That was a very deep like you said, convoluted answer.
Yeah, I got a couple seconds into that theory, and I was like, "There's no way this is correct.
This is way too complicated for this little 1 minute mystery game." Well done, my friend.
Thank you,
Well done.
you.
Good work. All right, so before I get started, we are coming up on 1 hour already, which is crazy. This is flying by. So I want to be respectful of your time. So do you have time to ask? Do you have time to answer a few more questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, I can do a few more if you'd like.
All right, awesome. So I like to get to let me and the people in the chat and watching the replay later on get to know the writer as a person also. So I have a few questions I'm going to ask you. All right. So first question is an easy one, maybe. What's your favorite color?
I don't know. It doesn't matter, honestly.
It doesn't matter.
Like it. They all have a purpose in some way. They all do things differently and convey different meanings and moods and everything. And at different times, different ones are going to be better.
I like that. I like it. That is.
I went to art school. What do you want from me?
That's actually a perfect answer for your personality, I think. All right. Number 2. What's your favorite food? Now this matters. Come on now.
I will say, I don't know that it's my favorite food, but it is probably my favorite thing to make. I make a lot of stir fry.
Ooh,
and that's partially because I find it very convenient because it's not hard to make. Yep. And because every single time you make it, you can have it taste a lot different.
That's true.
The different vegetables and meats and different, rice or rice noodle or whatever you want to do. Different sauces and everything. Like you can totally turn around.
That's so true.
Take the same ingredients, but with a different sauce or different spices, and have a completely different outcome, which I love. I love to play with different spices and stuff. So
that is a good. I want some stir fry now, man. That is good.
Right?
Good stuff.
Good.
Dylan's hopping out. He's got to go play the baritone. All right.
Sounds
good luck,
good.
man. We'll see you. So this wasn't one of my questions, but now that does make me think, because you like music so much. Do you currently, or have you ever played a musical instrument?
Yes. I have not recently. It's fallen off as I've gotten more into writing.
Nice.
But yeah, I can play a little bit of guitar, bass, and ukulele. Not any of them particularly well. But it's like enough to get by sometimes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's super fun.
That's awesome. I would love to play all those things, and I don't play them well at all because I don't know how. So you know how. You obviously play them better than not well. So give yourself some credit.
I mean, I know my weaknesses with it. I also know, like, if I can avoid those, I'm all right. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. Nice. John Stevenson just popped on. I'm guessing he's talking about bald and balding, I think.
Yeah, there's only 2 B's there, so it must be.
Yeah, it's got to be. All right, so I do want to circle back to when you're talking about food and cooking. You mentioned baking earlier. So do you bake stuff too?
Not much. I will say I make a good banana bread.
Ooh, banana bread is
and I like to tweak the recipe a little bit here and there, which is very dangerous in baking, and I'm aware of that. But the regular recipe puts way too much sugar in it. It's abysmal. It's just a cake. I don't like that. I do actually want to have a bread. But yeah, so I'll do that sometimes. Like little mixes that are easy or something. I don't particularly enjoy baking though. I like the play of cooking because I get to mess with the spices are very fun for me. I'll sometimes make a sauce or something. So
I like it. That's cool. All right, you mentioned gaming earlier, so you are a gamer, or you enjoy video games?
Yes, I was much more of a gamer, and
Okay.
my friends reminded me recently, like, we're getting bad at this. We're getting old.
Oh, life makes it hard to do that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Uh,
It's tough. We've been grinding Marvel Rivals recently,
nice.
and all of my non-writer friends want to do it like multiple times a
Oh
week,
yeah.
and I'm just like,
I
when do I get my own stuff done?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good one. So are those your favorite kinds of games, the ones you can play online with other people?
Yeah, if I can play a game with friends, I tend to prefer that. I'm also a sucker for like city builders. Like when
Oh,
they're done, when I don't know, just like getting into the groove of those is very fun to me. I
those are
love City
good.
Skylines,
Yeah.
and I got into um what's it called, Timberborn, which
Oh
is like a
yeah. I
city
didn't play
builder,
it.
but
Yeah.
it's
I've
all
seen that one.
beavers, and you're like, it's really cool though.
Is
Like they
it?
have a lot of really cool like water mechanics, and there's a lot of
Okay.
verticality with it.
I wasn't
Um,
sure about that one. I didn't know how it would play out. So it's pretty fun.
it's yeah, I haven't gone
Yeah.
back to it in a while. I should
Mhm.
at some point. They've made a lot of updates since I last
Oh
played,
yeah.
but
Yep.
yeah, I hit that point in all city builders you eventually hit where it's like, oh, I've succeeded. I've done all of the stuff.
Yeah.
I can continue playing, but
But there's no other
there's
level
no
to
new
it.
hill to climb. There's
Yeah.
no new mountain to conquer.
Yeah. Yep. That's
um,
fair.
so I kind of fell off of it, but I'm excited to go back at some point because they've made a lot of changes.
Nice. Okay.
Um, and I'm a chronic card gamer.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
playing Marvel Snap since beta, and I still occasionally get on Hearthstone after uh, 10 years, I think.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Dang. So what card game are you best at then?
Right now, I think Snap is my main one.
Gosh, I don't even know
It's
what Snap is.
I mean, honestly, I like it a lot because I can do other stuff at the same time. The games are very quick.
Okay.
They're like 6 turns total, and that's it.
Oh wow, that is good.
And there's enough complexity to be interesting um while still like not I don't have to be like at my computer focused 100% on it. Like
Mhm.
I was earlier today when I was working on dinner for myself, I was playing it with just like with my phone balancing on top of like a jar of peanut butter.
So yeah, that's a pretty good game to get into then if you can do that.
Yeah, it's great for multitasking. But if you do want to like sit down and focus on it and like play seriously, you
Yeah,
absolutely can. Like there
you can
is
do that
enough
too.
depth to it.
Okay, very cool. I like that. I don't hear that one often that people love the card games and the city builders. You're just a
Yeah,
man of many
no,
hats.
absolutely. The algorithm cannot figure me out.
It's still trying. All right. Last one, and then I have one more question from the chat I got to ask you. But uh, what's your favorite movie or TV show, or both? One or the other, or both?
um TV show, definitely Scrubs.
Nice. I love
Um
Scrubs.
just such a fun, but
Mhm.
like it was a dramedy, you know?
Yeah, definitely
They
was.
were very fun and very
Mhm.
silly, but when things got serious, they got serious.
Yep. Yep.
And I love that dynamic so much.
Yes, I agree.
Um Movie, I'm not sure. I don't
All
watch
right.
as many movies.
Mhm.
This might just be recency bias,
Yeah.
but the Dune movies have been so good.
Oh yes, they're
Just the
really good.
cinematography of them,
I agree.
the storytelling is just
Mhm.
incredible.
Mhm.
Uh, I I don't know if that's my favorite or if it's just like my favorite thing I've seen recently,
Right.
but
That's a good choice. They are
yeah,
really
no,
good.
it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I enjoyed both of those very much. I agree. Those were awesome. So Keys had one more question. This is back to put your writer hat back on.
Okay,
So
okay.
he wants to know what your favorite literary element is: prose, plot building, character development. And does that change with specific authors or something that remains constant? So I'll add another piece to this. So answer it as a reader and as a writer. Like, what's your favorite to write
Okay.
versus what's your favorite part of when you're reading a story?
I think for both, probably character development. But for writing specifically, I think I really enjoyed dialogue.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Okay.
I've it's taken me some time to get there, uh, but but I don't know. I find that really enjoyable to write when I can have characters bounce off each other in different ways and use their relationship to express their own personalities and everything,
Hmm.
from what they say to each other, also to what they don't say to each other. You might have a line somewhere in there where you have the character lie to the other person, or have them withhold some information that they tell the reader so that they
Hmm.
know it's being withheld,
Yep.
and then choose not to say it or something, or choose to say it in a different way. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite thing to write.
That's cool. That is dialogue so important to a story, I think, a lot more
Mhm.
than people think, especially when you read something where dialogue's a little choppy and not done well. It
Yeah, it's
really, you're like, oh gosh.
there's a saying in like UX and UI, which
Hmm.
is my day job.
Okay.
Basically, like, when it's working perfectly, nobody notices it because it's just working the way they
Yeah,
expect.
exactly. That's
Um,
so true.
when it's wrong, alarm bells
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, you don't
Yeah.
always know why it's wrong, but you know it's wrong.
Yes. Yes. That's so
Yeah,
true.
I feel like it's the same thing with dialogue, where it's
Yeah.
like, if it feels weird, you don't always know why, but you know it's weird.
Yep. That's so true. Yep. Exactly. Spot on.
Mhm.
All right. So my last question before we go. Oh, and here is Preacher Reads. What's up? What's up, man? All right. So I want to know what's next for you writing. Are you staying in this world and expanding it out? You don't have to give specifics or
Mhm.
anything, or do you have something new in a different world that you're going to work on?
So I will say I have some more ideas for
Okay.
this setting. It won't
Nice.
be. It won't necessarily be more of anything that you've read in
Mhm.
this setting, but it if everything goes as planned, it will be loosely connected. More of this idea of, it's a series, but each book in the series is a standalone.
Yeah.
Um, that said, that is not my next project.
Oh,
I am
okay.
currently working on a nonfiction reference book all
Ooh.
about map design
Mhm.
and all about world building. So basically, the idea is, if you are an author and you are interested in making your own map, or just improving the world building for your setting, or sketching something out so that somebody else who's making your map and has a better idea of it, um, it should prepare you for all of that. So it's going to cover topics like um, geology and climate, and uh, different ways that those things can impact the flora, fauna, the way that civilizations can impact a map. The map looks a lot different between when we are living off the land versus we're terraforming it, we are creating docks and cities and stuff like that. And where do you put all that stuff, and what do you name those things? And oh, by the way, there's also a couple of basic design concepts at the back. If you are doing the whole thing yourself, there will be a few tips on, like, what typography to use, what to do for your scales and stuff like that. So
Oh,
uh,
dude. I'm
it's
so
not.
excited.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's been a nice break from fiction, where I have to come up with a satisfying story, and with this, I'm just like able to sort of report information,
Yes.
and then at the same time compare that information. So it's like, we'll talk about fault lines
Mhm.
and tectonic plates and everything, but also we're talking about it in the context of fiction. So we're going to talk about
Mhm.
that in the context of how N.K. Jemisin uses it in their Broken Earth
Nice.
series,
Okay.
and
So you're
how
gonna give
that
examples.
feels like the magic system there,
Nice.
and how you're the author, it's your choice to go deep into this or improvise and just do whatever you would like. So there's a lot of variation, and I've been able to bring in a lot of other authors and cartographers as well.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
not just me telling you what to do, because that is not something that I want to do. I'm much
Right.
more interested in compiling a bunch of people's advice, a bunch of people's experiences. And so we've got folks like um, the map designer for Brandon Sanderson,
Oh, wow.
Isaac Stewart, is in the book.
Very
He's
cool.
been kind enough to write some stuff up for me, and we had a little chat about his experience doing maps and his advice for people, especially creating maps that are part of the world. So like if you go and open up, and like I think like any of Sanderson's books, you'll see like those maps have been written on by those characters, or
Yep.
have like, you know, symbols and seals from the empire or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so like how to bring that kind of piece into it. I've spoken with cartographer Daniel's Maps. He has a Patreon where he gives people maps like every 2 weeks or something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
And he's done a lot of stuff for like the tabletop RPG community, and he's done some commissions for authors and stuff. He weighed in a little bit on cities and how he designs those and some of the considerations. Dewey Hargreaves, who's similar, he's a cartographer too. He's also an author, and he spoke with me about like, you know, the stuff people don't consider, like the city has to have a sewage system, and if it doesn't, where is it going?
Mhm.
It's very often like what resources are around the city. Like you're not just going to put it into a spot randomly. Like they need access to food, water, shelter, different resources, whatever that may be. And if they don't have those things, what is the thing that's keeping the city there? And to that, we can sometimes look into history, where there were like in the and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm sorry. We find like in the Dasht Ilut desert, in like the Middle East,
Mhm.
there are ruins of cities there from like 2000 years ago. No, I think it was 2000 BCE, something like that.
Oh,
Very
wow.
long ago, long
Yeah.
before air conditioning, long
Right.
before easily accessible water. Like
Yep. Yep.
obviously, like people are enduring life in the desert for a
Yes.
reason. The
Right.
reason we think is because that was likely a trade route between the east and west, and people
Mm,
were carrying goods through there, and they would
okay.
need places to stay and rest. And so if you control the places where people can go safely and catch a breather, like you can tax them whatever you want.
Right. That's
so
true.
so yeah, like there's a lot of stuff going into this between history and art and science and all those different things, and it's just been such a joy to work with people on that. And
Yeah, that's so
I'm
cool.
yeah, I'm currently listening to some audiobooks and working on some maps to include as examples.
Nice.
And some of those authors I mentioned who contributed to the book
Mhm.
have graciously let me use their maps from their books as examples in it. So it's been it's been a very fun project. I'm hoping to have that out later this year.
I was just gonna ask, can you give us a hint on when? So later this year.
Yeah,
Sweet.
hoping to. We'll see.
Oh, right. Well, sign me up, man, because I want all that. I want it all. That sounds awesome. That's going to
Awesome.
be helpful to I mean, like as an aspiring author myself, that's something like that is huge. Like I would eat that
Yeah,
up.
there's a
Put it on
lot of
coffee.
map design books in
Mhm.
terms of like how to draw,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen a whole lot of map books for fiction authors and
Yeah.
world builders and whatever you are, you know, working on.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a whole lot of that in terms of like why does this make sense? Like,
Yeah.
like you can draw a really pretty mountain
Right.
range, but why is that mountain range
Right.
there? And you don't always need to go into that level of detail
Right.
with your story. It's dependent on what you want to do.
Yeah.
But even if you're not considering like your tectonic plates, you could also consider like there's some really interesting stuff you can do with mountains that I think people kind of skip over just because it's not seen a lot. Like there's some really, really interesting climates in the mountains around like Eastern Africa, where like there used to be this dense forest. And then as climates changed over the years, and I'm not talking about like recent climate change. I'm talking about like, since 12,000 years ago or something.
Okay.
So like,
right.
there used to be this really thick forest there. It was more tropical and temperate. And then that became hotter and more arid and it became a savanna. And the higher elevation places became the last bastions of that old climate of the forests. And then life on the ground adapts, or new life moves in, migrates. And what do the things that used to live there do? They either adapt or die out, or they go up in the mountains.
Right.
And so you can go into the mountains there, and it's like going into an entirely new world, and there's entirely different species that don't exist anywhere else, some of which only exist on that one mountain. There are some species of chameleon that only exist on like a specific mountain in Africa. And then if you go like, travel north to the next mountain, there's a similar species with similar ancestry, but it's been evolving separately from it since that happened.
That's wild.
Now imagine if you do that with dragons.
Right. I was going to say.
There's so many cool possibilities in fiction to take those lessons and be like, we have slightly different dragons on each of the mountains, dating back to like this old ancestor or something.
Oh man, that's incredible. Yes. See, that's what I mean. Beard of Darkness just popped in here. What's up, my friend?
Hello.
Thank you for being here. But we're just getting ready to wrap up. Not because you came in, my friend. It's just because it's that time. But thanks for coming in here, dude. I appreciate it. All right. So thank you so much, dude. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And everybody in the chat, thank you guys. You guys were awesome. I will have links in the description for Adam's books and to follow him on social media. So
real quick, I just want to this is the wrong time to say it because we haven't been talking about the book in so long.
No.
But Animus Pardox is out right now only on ebook. It is going to come out on paperback on the 17th. And I think I did it on accident, but it is available for pre-order. But if you want a signed copy, you can go to my website. There's a shop there, and you can get a signed copy from me, and I will ship it out to you once it's ready.
Yes, definitely do. Thank you for taking that. Sometimes I forget to give you the floor at the very end, so I'm glad you took it.
Yes.
I wouldn't forget, because I was going to, but then sometimes I get going and then I don't. So
yeah, I know. I know how it is. I've done the same thing to people.
So yes, the book's fantastic, and so is the short story collection. Check them both out. Adam's awesome. So, and just now it looks like Nina popped in. Thanks for popping in, Nina. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
She is awesome as well. So, yeah, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it. We'll definitely have to do this again. Maybe when your awesome map book is getting ready to come out, we'll have you on and shout out that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated.
All right. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Have a great night. We will be back on Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm having on the author of Death Cult, Janelle Shiki, is going to be on. That should be a lot of fun. But until I see you in that next one, as I always say, devour your TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you.